Welcome back to the Pack Fresh podcast, where we talk about all things Pokemon TCG and give you a little peek behind the curtain of what it's like to be a seller in this space. And today we have a very special guest. We got Staxx.
How you doing, guys?
Staxx, you've had an incredible journey. Born in Bosnia, lived in Germany, then to the US. What do you remember most about those early years, and how did they help shape your mindset today?
Well, early years when I was like really young, I don't really remember much, but just being a kid, moving away from Bosnia in 91 when the war started, I remember most of my childhood being down in Germany, starting at like 93, 94 when I was like 3, 4 years old. Basically just having two immigrant parents working their ass off day and night, switching, night shift, first and second shift. Somebody always has to be with me, never really having them together at the same time, and just seeing what really hard work contains to be able to just make it out, save as much money as you can to be able to send for my grandparents back at home, whoever was stuck back in the country that couldn't leave, because not everybody was able to just leave the country and go somewhere else. So just basically seeing a lot of hard work as a young kid, sacrificing, seeing my parents sacrifice a lot to just make it out, basically. I mean, that was my young years. And then same thing, coming here, 98, moving here to the United States, same thing. First like maybe 5, 6 years was just basically my parents just working a lot. Lots of labor, lots of saving, living the minimalistic lifestyle to just save up for a house, for a car, basically just a lot of hard work.
It definitely takes a lot of work when you're new to a place and you don't know anything. It's definitely hard, especially immigrating over. Your family's path obviously wasn't easy. Then growing up with the war-torn country and then immigrating to the U.S. at such a young age, and then watching your parents work so hard in the younger years. How do you think that shaped your work ethic today?
I mention this to my chat all the time and to my community. It's kind of like, giving an example prior to my statement is basically I came here when I was almost 8 years old. I was handed a shovel. Depends on how you want to take it. I was actually handed a shovel, by meaning everything that my dad has ever done, like any renovations around our house or like we did additions to a house that we got a house for a good deal. Anything that we've ever done, it was just so much that was labor intensive. My dad did it himself or with me. So, I mean, I basically never had that upbringing of our actual childhood because my dad always needed me for something. Having two immigrant parents, didn't speak English. I had to translate everywhere I went at 9 years old, 10 years old. I was writing checks. I learned how to write checks. I was calling AT&T, T-Mobile, internet provider. I was arguing with them why our bills overcharged or why this, why that. I mean, because my parents never, even till this day, they don't really fully speak English well enough to be able to like have a full-blown conversation. And being an only child, all the burden was on me. So basically, going back to the statement of being handed a shovel when I was like 8, 9 years old moving here, it was just... I don't know any better. So the work ethic I have today that people always wonder, how do I do that? Or how can I stream for so long or rip so many packs is because I've never known what it is. I've never known different. It's like having an animal. And if you treat it to be, or like a horse, for example, from when it's a pony, it's carrying, so much weight and doing labor all the time. When it grows up and you ask him that question, he wouldn't know any better. It's just kind of like a natural thing. I don't see it as hard work because I've never known what it was to not have a work ethic where I have just, come home as a kid, drop my backpack, go play outside. I never had that. It was always come home from school. We got to dig a foundation for our new addition to our house. We got to do this. We got to go to Home Depot. We got to go talk to this guy. My dad used me forever. I was his translator. At the end of the day, I'm basically happy that the fact that turned out that way because I wouldn't be the guy I am today. But yeah, it was basically, I don't know. I wouldn't know any better. It's just the hard work is just kind of natural. I would say, to answer your question.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. So you came to the U.S. about 8 years old. How long from when you came to the United States till your dad opened up the butcher shop?
His story was kind of crazy and how he evolved his business to scale it to where he's at today. So when we were in Germany as immigrants, he got a job as a cleaner in a butcher shop where they were making sausages and ground beef and packaging it up. It was like a high intensive like factory where they package. It's kind of like a Tyson today, like where there's a bunch of people. He was cleaning there, and then he got a promotion to actually work on the line, and he got the night shift, which goes back to my parents never being consecutively together for 7 years in Germany at the same time in the same room because they worked every day. He got promoted to be like the sausage maker or whatever, where he made actual sausages and filled them and was able to make the meat for it and everything. And then coming here to the United States, first thing he did, like the second week we were here, one of our friends, our sponsors, we call them sponsors because you had to have a sponsor to come here to the United States during 98, 99. It wasn't just like apply. And if you had no friends here or whatever, they wouldn't accept you to come here. You had to have somebody that you know that was here that would recommend you for you to come there, where they would house you for a week or two until you figure it out, go to the immigration centers and all that. So my dad's friend or sponsor took him to like a Kroger's or like a Schnucks or Deerberg's or whatever, like one of those bigger box stores. And they said, hey, this guy needs a job. And they're like, can we see his resume? Well, he's like, I don't think he has a resume. He's worked in a butcher shop in Germany for the last 6 years, and that's all, And so they're like, oh, sure, we'll give him a cleaning job, the lowest tier, just to like clean around or whatever. And it was a night shift again. My dad did that. And then there was an influx of Bosnian people in 98 and 99. There was over 70,000 people that migrated from Germany to the United States, to St. Louis, Missouri. So this was a swarm of people, and everybody's in the same boat. Nobody knows how to speak English. And it's basically by word of mouth at immigration institution centers where we all meet to be able to like get some type of funding for a little bit or a little bit of EBTs or whatever. Word of mouth goes like, hey, you should go to this store. There's a Bosnian guy working there and he might be able to help you around or whatever, go try to get you a job. It was all word of mouth. So my dad made it up to the butcher shop to work as an assistant butcher because they seen like he was way too overqualified to be a cleaner. Like he was a hardworking guy. So he got a little raise, like a $2 raise or something like that. He was working for like $8 an hour. Long story short, a year down the road, he becomes the manager. And now there's over 120,000 people that migrated to St. Louis from Germany, from Turkey, all Bosnian immigrants from the war. Everybody started coming to that store. And now this wasn't like as big of a chain as Kroger's and stuff. It was like there's like 3 big ones in St. Louis. It was called Foodland. And everybody was coming to Foodland to see my dad because he was the head butcher, like the manager. And he knew, because they spoke the same language, hey, I want my meat cut this way. He was able to do that. So basically that whole store was making its money off the Bosnian population back in 98 to 2001 before my dad opened up his own shop. I mean, it was crazy. Like every employee, every cash register employee, it was all Bosnian. I mean, it was hardworking people that wanted a job and all the customers were Bosnian. It turned into a Bosnian store. So my dad goes like, hey, I mean, this place is making so much money. They never had veal. Veal is very big in our culture. My dad recommended to the owner of the store, is like, if you get veal, you're going to sell a lot of it because my people, that's what we eat is veal and beef and lamb. They did that. They made millions of dollars. I mean, my dad got a crazy raise. And then all of a sudden my dad's like, I think I should open up my own shop. So as soon as my dad and his brother opened up the first shop, which was like 2 miles down the road where my dad worked, every single customer has transferred over. The Foodland, which was there's 3 of them, they all went bankrupt within 3 years.
Oh,
They were living off the Bosnian population. It was kind of crazy. I mean, think about it. And then my dad's store, off the first day, the sales were sky high and he made a crazy success out of it till this day. I mean, there's 2 stores now. And I mean, today was a crazy busy day for us too. Before the 4th, it was absolutely like, it's never dropped off. But throughout that time period, my dad's experience, hard work, and as having experience as a butcher led him to work his way up. And it was negotiating and networking with people. And I learned all that through my dad, how to work with people, how to make connections with people, how to make people feel welcome, how to make people feel appreciated, for them to come back, go out of your way to make somebody satisfied type that. So I use that in my day-to-day basis today to grow my community is what I learned from my dad, obviously. So yeah, he came here, and then now we're known for some of the most popular sausages in the United States, Balkan sausages. We were in the New York Times, Andrew Zimmerman Bizarre Foods, St. Louis edition, on the TV show that aired on the Food Network. We're on that show, our store. They showed our sausages and stuff. So he made it pretty big, and it was from a guy in Germany who was just filling sausages for a German guy to having his own crazy recipe, because nobody has a recipe of our own sausages and so forth. So it's kind of crazy how it all works up, and it's just hard work. I mean, my dad knew nothing about it. He wasn't an actual butcher. He didn't go to no schooling, no culinary school, nothing like that. He just learned as you go,
So being the translator for the family, when he wanted to open up his own butcher shop, what was that like? You have to go through all the
Oh man.
meetings to did he rent the space at first, or he purchased a spot, or
Yeah.
how does that work?
So my dad really didn't need his brother to start up the first shop, but my dad's brother's son was a HVAC guy, and he did really well in HVAC. Same story. Came here, worked hard, worked for somebody, then started his own 2-man crew, and typical how a small business starts. He had some money to be able to purchase a building. So my dad offered to his brother to open up the store together because with the help of his son, it would have a building already made. The HVAC is already done where you don't have to dump 20, 30 grand into a new unit. All the coolers they made themselves, they saved hundreds of thousands of dollars. In order to get a butcher shop going, I mean, the equipment is extremely expensive. Like a saw is like 8, 9,000. You need 2 or 3 of them. You need a grinder that's like 12 grand. Like even if you get it used, it's like half the money, like $6,000, $7,000. So my dad's seen, hey, let's go in this together, 50-50. We'll have, my son is going to help. Like me, I was only 11 years old at the time when we opened. I worked every day for $50 at the cash register. I set up all the cash register, the POS system. I ordered all the food, talking to US Foods and all this stuff because none of them knew how to speak English other than my dad's brother's son. But he was a guy who was doing all the maintenance and building the building up to make sure everything's up and running. So I did all the translating. At 11 years old, I'm over here negotiating, calling meat suppliers and stuff, which helps me like today, finding Japanese distributors, finding English, working with card shops, working with English distributors, and getting to the level that I am today is what I remember when I was 9 years old negotiating with US Foods on how to get the cheapest price per pound on veal and beef and steak and pork or whatever, So, I mean, it's kind of crazy. Like I said, if I've never lived through those years as a kid and had my childhood taken away from me to do this for my parents, I had 100% confidence I would not be the person I am today and not be anywhere near I am today. All that definitely taught me. It grew on me because I was doing that from 11 years old, negotiating and whatever, making deals and making connections.
It's crazy. One of my really good friends from high school is a very similar story. They came from Mexico, immigrated to California, and then ended up in Minnesota, and they started a restaurant back in like 96 or 98 or something. And same thing, his dad didn't know how to speak English. So it's just crazy to see like these guys come and they just got that ethic. They're like, no, I'm going to make it happen. And like he did the same thing. He'd have to like go translate all the conversations for his dad and everything. It's cool to see. And like those are
I
all.
ever thought about that with you, like having that growing up, and like there is so many different language barriers and stuff that you work with in this space, and like just doing business in general.
Yeah, for sure.
Like it's actually really interesting.
Absolutely.
Just like being dragged around after school everywhere for everything that he needs to do, right? You're just running errands.
Oh, the only thing, I graduated in high school, top 10 in my class. I had straight A's. I had like a few A minuses. Only thing that I've never had was perfect attendance. And that's something, and my dad was very on me. My mom and dad were like, they want me to be like the best. They were proud of me and all. But they understood why I didn't have perfect attendance because it was, my dad bought his second house. The first house I had to go for the closing. It was midweek. I couldn't go to school. So like the days that I missed school wasn't because I just skipped it with my friends, stayed after, hung out, played video games. It was clearly to go work. And
Right.
my dad's story that he mentions to me, I got goosebumps right now because it's a wild story. My dad was in school and his family's from a village and they didn't have it like that. They were very poor. And this is pre-war. And when my dad was in school, my dad knew he had nothing out of school. Back in the Balkans, if you were going to school in the 70s and 80s, school really is a future thing. But when you live in a village and you're living day to day till you got to get milk from the cow today to be able to eat today, you can't look at, oh, I'm going to go be a doctor. I'm going to take out a loan and go to school and become a doctor and pay that off when I'm done. That wasn't a thing back in the day. It was just go to work, earn the money, and then either go buy the milk or go get the money to buy a cow. And then you gotta get the milk from the cow. You gotta treat it, whatever. So my dad was working in a lumber yard and his school went on a field trip. And as they're walking, it was a small town, they're walking and they look over to the right and they see my dad in the field cutting wood. He was cutting wood for a guy, like, where they tear down wood to prepare for the winters because they didn't have heating and cooling back in the day. It was all wood. They still have it till this day where you go and you get like 20, 30 yards of wood or 100 yards of wood, you cut it up and you warm yourself through the winter. And my dad's teacher looked over and he was like, why aren't you at school? And my dad's like, oh, I gotta work. He couldn't explain it. Like what he's, and his whole class was staring at him. That kind of goes back to my dad dragging me out of school, which is obviously not like intentional, but to help build on top. And like I said, I mean, for anything, like you don't have to have perfect attendance to be able to be successful in school. It's just something that right now I'm not so harsh on my kids the same way. Hey, if you don't go to school, it's okay. But what reason are you missing school for? Are you missing it to play games or come with me to the office and hang out? Or do I really need you? Like, hey, I want you here, or you have to come help me with something. Or thankfully, I don't have to do that. But there has to be a reason before. So yeah, that's why my dad, that story kind of relates to him pulling me out of school because he was doing that. His class was on a field trip and seeing him cut wood, it was kind of embarrassing, but at the same time, he had to do that. I mean, they had to eat that day because they lived day to day. That's kind of a resemblance. It's kind of crazy. The path my dad had in life, I lived the same exact life, just in a future time.
The future
More modern
generation. Yeah. So once you graduated, how long was it until you started streaming on YouTube then?
Oh, so I went to Mizzou, played soccer for 3 years for D3 and NAIA. I had a really great career path in soccer. I had offers to go fourth, fifth league in Germany. I mean, I had a really good talent for soccer, lots of awards and stuff throughout high school. I mean, I could have had that path built for me and pursued it. My dad was against that because he always thought like, oh, you could go play pro for 3 years and break your leg, and then you're behind 3 years, and then you don't even have a degree. You have nothing. You're at ground zero. And I have friends that have done that. They went pro 6, 7 years. They came back, and now they're working down here in St. Louis at Anheuser-Busch on the line, packaging beer for $18 an hour. And they made a little bit of money, but they thought they could make it to the big leagues, and they never did. My dad goes like, listen, son, if you can get a full ride scholarship somewhere, that's already a success. That's more than being successful as a professional soccer player. Now, if you have potential to go pro afterwards with a degree, whatever you want, you break your leg, you come back, you have an engineering degree, you can do you still have a job. You can feed your family and yourself, whatever. So my dad was against me pursuing soccer. He wanted me to go to college as an engineer to work together with my dad's brother's son, because he was an HVAC guy. So my dad's like, if you can be an engineer and draw all these PE plans and and do all these mechanical drawings, you guys could build an empire together, because he has a crew. They need an engineer that they pay for to get the stamp approvals. I can be the engineer behind the computer and we could just make a killing. And that's a great plan, but that was my dad's choice. So I went to Mizzou. I did engineering. I didn't want to do that. I never wanted to work for somebody. I never had that mentality of waking up doing a 9 to 5. It doesn't matter how much money there is, because I always thought like there's a ceiling to everything. You become a doctor or the top surgeon in the world, you still have a ceiling cap of how much you're going to make. I realized, and I always I always looked up to celebrities where you can make, or like billionaires where you can make an endless amount. And the only way to really have no ceiling in how much you make is by running your own business. And I've seen that through my dad. So I actually got kicked out of Mizzou for having 2 semesters of bad grades. And I came back. I worked for him for like about a year, paid off whatever student loans I had. And then I didn't want to work for him either. I didn't like waking up and having to go report to somebody. So me and my dad got into it a little bit for about 6 months. We didn't really communicate during COVID. And then I started doing YouTube and playing video games and trying that. But I've always been on Twitch, but I never was able to grow an American English-speaking fan-base community.
Right.
So I was streaming on Twitch one time from my apartment with my fiance at that time, my wife right now, and I had one decently sized big Balkan YouTuber from back home find me on Twitch, and he's like, "You're Bosnian?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Dude, you should make a YouTube channel and cater to people back home, because they would love to see your lifestyle, even with vlogs." Or like my setup was, you're comparing a third world country where the average computer setup is $250, where they can only run Counter-Strike 1.6 and for like 30 minutes before it like overheats. To me, having like $1,000 computer, which wasn't anything crazy at that time, but to them, it's like, wow, like a Ferrari, comparing a Golf to a Ferrari at that time. He goes like, "You'll kill it." So he brought me on one of his streams one time, and I played Fortnite with him. And these people were like, "Oh, this guy is Bosnian guy in America. Subscribe. I got up to like 3,000 subscribers in the first 3 days. And then I started streaming on YouTube video games, Fortnite. And then it just went crazy. I mean, I started doing vlogs. I'm donating V-Bucks to kids that their parents work a whole week for a $25 V-Buck card in comparison. And I'm over here gifting a $25 V-Buck card every week. And to them, it's like, like something crazy. So I grew my fan base like that. And that's how YouTube started. I mean, and then I started getting sponsors and making better videos with more money coming in, better, sponsors like DX Racer was my sponsor and Nano Leaf and all that. Like they started reaching out. Bunch of Chinese companies too.
It was kind of funny. So when you were talking about that your dad didn't like the idea of soccer, like immediately my mind went to like a lot of times parents think like, oh, this is a terrible choice for you, you know what I mean? Like, but usually it's because they don't understand it. Like if you would have told your dad back then, like, oh, I'm going to sell Pokemon cards, you know what I mean? Probably like, oh, that's not, like they don't understand it, right? But to say that your dad had the vision to be like, well, you could get injured in soccer and then it's like now that's over and you're out everything, like that's actually like much smarter, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of a cool little caveat to that.
I mean, with YouTube, it was kind of crazy. My dad wasn't a supporter of that either. He was like, oh, look at him. He's a bum playing video games. He could be working with me at the store building this empire.
Right.
And he never supported my YouTube career at all. We never got along on that. Even though when we made up and started making some money, he didn't, once he realized because he has a store and there's 90% of it is Bosnian, Croatians and Serbian people from the Balkans. They come into the store and they're like, oh, your son's video. I seen your son in Miami. I seen your son here. Or your son got, to 100,000 subscribers. Like, cause my videos went viral, like 200, 300K. And all the people here get that algorithm from back home and I pop up there. So that's how I started my son's content too when he was 2 years old. And they're all like showing my dad like these videos like, oh, your son is in Miami on a yacht, this and that. Because my dad never really wanted to deal with me because I didn't want to work with him. So he started thinking he calls me one day and he's like, how many people know you? And I was like, what? Because I was streaming on YouTube to 8,000 people every single fortnight, new season drop and shit. Like, I was like, it was pretty wild.
Yeah.
And I tell my dad, oh, I have 200,000 views on this video. And he just brushes it off. Like he doesn't know.
Right. What? There's no frame of reference about what that is.
So then I started making content with my son. My son Liam made his own channel. He had, blonde hair, blue eyes, 2 years old, speaking fully fluent Bosnian. His videos went in the millions, like over 70 million views a month for like first 4 months. It was insane. And my son is also like on all platforms. He's got over 1 million followers as well. That's when the content side really hit my dad because we've had people reach out. We had a chocolate company called Dorina reach out to my dad from back home. And they're like, we want to offer because my name pops up under the shop because me and my dad owned the shop because of like taxes and stuff, whatever. So they found my name and the butcher shop, I guess, popped up from Croatia. They're like, we want to put your son's name. And they were talking to my dad. And my dad had no idea who it is. So he told him to call me. He always does that when somebody calls like, oh, hey. And then if my dad thinks it's something important, he's like, yeah, call my son. And then he gives him my number. So I get a phone call from Dorina and they're like, we want to pay you $500,000 to put your son's face on our chocolate bars. Because my son's, even till right now, my son's videos they go viral every day. We're still active with his content. And then when I called my dad and told him that, I was like, yeah, they're offering $500,000 to put Liam's picture on a candy bar because they want to mimic the Kinder candy bars that in Germany, there's a brand called Kinder, like the Kinder eggs. Yeah. They have a chocolate bar with this one kid's face on it that got a $40 million contract to have a 20-year contract of them using that kid's face. So like that kid's face is popular, everybody knows that candy bar from that kid's face. So they want to mimic that back at home because all these smaller countries with these companies, the way they grow is by just seeing what these bigger companies are doing like Red Bull and Monster. They make their own energy drinks and they're trying to copy them essentially, obviously you go to China, there's multiple copies of Dyson and everything's the same. It's just different branding. That's basically what they were doing and they wanted to mimic that. And I declined that offer because I didn't want my son's name on that candy bar. My son has allergies. He's allergic to wheat, eggs, peanuts, tree nuts, and beef. And they didn't have any gluten-free chocolate or anything like that. So I'm like, why would I put my son's name on this if he can't eat it? But then they go like, oh, well, we can work around that. We can make a special bar for like your content and stuff. I'm like, so you want my son for $500,000 to sell himself, to say that he likes this stuff when he can't even have it? What if you made a candy bar line that's actually made for kids with allergies? Then I would probably be interested in maybe even doing it for free, essentially, you know? So I'm kind of like it's kind of a loyalty thing too. You know, I'm not trying to hear a lie. And that goes back to the person I am today with my brand in Pokemon. Show your true self and don't sell yourself. I mean, you know, grow a community, and the view count doesn't matter. You just got to be yourself. You got to be transparent. Like, you know, there's multiple times I've overpaid for a lot of product. I go to my community. I'm like, guys, I just bought Prismatic Evolutions at $22 a pack. The best I can do for these breaks is this amount. And the community's like, you know what? You gave us so many deals for so many years. They kept buying. And I was put on Reddit. I was put on Discord groups for charging $250 for a 100-pack break. But that was me breaking even, essentially, like making $30 on a break. My community had my back because I was transparent. I'm like, listen, I messed up. I bought Prismatic. I made a deal 2 weeks before it popped off. I thought it was going to be a $40 pack. I wanted to lock in some product, and I paid $22 a pack basically after shipping. And I got screwed because it was like $13-14 average on release day. So, but my community dragged me out of that and helped me pay back whatever I owed. That was the last big mistake I've ever done in that business. But that goes back to just being transparent, like I did with my son. Like $500,000, anybody would do anything for these days, honestly. People kill other people for $20. I mean, today's world is kind of nuts. And to decline to $500,000 is, especially at that time, like it would have really helped me out because I wasn't making that crazy money off YouTube. My son's channel was doing all right, but you know, $500,000 to turn down is a lot, but it worked out in the long end.
For sure. And just to have the morals of that too, like
The morals, yeah.
yeah. That's where a lot of people, I think, get lost with money is the morality of it. They just lose that.
So you went to YouTube, saw some success there. I imagine it was a lot of fun. That's my background too, was in streaming on Twitch myself and doing gaming. What was the catalyst for you to kind of move to Pokemon? Because like you said, you didn't really have like a traditional childhood, any of that. Like, what is your relationship with Pokemon, and like how did you get there from where you were?
That was a really rough patch in my life. So I made it to the point in YouTube with all my sponsors. In perspective, when you get 1 million views on a YouTube channel, on a long form content video, the average payout is based off of what country watches your videos, you know.
Right.
So 90% of my views came from the Balkans, and the CPA in the Balkans for every 1 million views was only like $630. Now, if I convert these to English or American views, let's say people in America, 1 million people watch your video, you get 1 million views, it converts to $4,000. It's a massive like difference. So I knew me making money off views off my long form content videos, because I only did that on my main channel. My son was all short form. The money wasn't coming from there, because I got like maybe luckily like 1.3 million views a month on my main long form content, because I did one video a week. It gets like 300-400K, and by the time it grows, I still get paid till this day because they keep growing and people keep watching. But at that time, I was only getting like 1 to 2 million views a month, and I was only getting paid out after taxes like $1,300. But I was making $20,000 on average off of YouTube, and all of the other ones were all sponsors. So I was on Twitch and streaming on YouTube, and I had like 7,000-8,000 viewers. There's a brand new company called Trovo that just opened up in it's out of Russia. I wanted to focus on it's like a European Twitch, or like a mixer competitive. They reached out to me, and they said they reached out to a lot of Balkan YouTubers, and they pay them salary, like the big ones, to use their YouTubes to bring over the people to watch on Trovo so they can grow this company and sell it probably, you know, whatever, or to like a Twitch or somebody like that wants to grow a streaming platform. We locked in at $8,000 a month. I had to stream an X amount of hours. Part of my YouTube, I still had to make my videos. I still had to do all my integrations with, you know, DX Racer and all these companies that paid me to integrate like my ads, because all my money came from so many different places. Like I get $1,200 from the views. I get $800 for integrating this company in my video. I get another $100 for using this keyboard while I'm playing in the video. I get, you know, if I can show this microphone off or have a sticker here, I get another $50. Like it was so much money rolling in where it adds up to like $15,000 to $25,000. But then it all falls back on how much views your video gets.
Right.
And that was the biggest mental breakdown I've had because I worked 7 days a week to produce one video. Going back to my dad's ways where we're not going to pay somebody to dig our foundation. I'm going to hand you a 9-year-old a shovel and you're going to help me. I learned how to edit my own videos. I learned how to do my own thumbnails. I recorded all my own stuff. I've always done everything myself. I never wanted to pay anybody to do anything. And that falls back on today the same way. Reason I don't scale my Pokemon business because I feel like I shouldn't pay anybody to do anything. I could just do it, but then I get caught up with not having the time to. So you work 7 days a week, 7 days to make one video. You upload it on a Sunday night, and then Monday and Tuesday, all I do is just scroll on my YouTube dashboard to see if my video is gonna pay my family, if I'm gonna make the money. Because if I don't get over 200K views on that video, DX Racers doesn't pay me that month. There's like strict contracts. If I get over 200K views, I don't get paid. It wasn't DX Racer. It was a Vulcan gaming chair when I moved over to YouTube. But when I was on Twitch, I had DX Racer. It was all tied up. So if I don't get the views, I don't get paid. And it was just a mental thing, man. It was where
Brutal, dude.
the money was great, dude. I mean, think about it. Anybody right now that's watching this, $20,000 a month is life changing. But it wasn't worth me. It wasn't my mental state was not there, man. And it seems like, people think Mr. Beast and all these guys have it easy. Mr. Beast sleeps in his warehouse. If anybody knows of anything of him or watch him, he sleeps in his warehouse so he doesn't have to make that 10-minute, 15-minute commute to work, get up in his, because he's stuck with no time. And he's like, it's all mental. And it's like, I take my hats off to people that still do this for a living, that do these crazier videos, that invest 20, 30,000 in a video, 100,000 in a video. It's mind blowing. So I couldn't deal it with it mentally. And then I was like, I'm just gonna take a break off YouTube, everything. I literally like cut off all my sponsors. I made like $1,200 on views. I still, till this day, people still watch the videos. I still get some check out of it from YouTube. Then I got on Whatnot because I was going to the gym. I wanted to do this weight loss thing. And I got on Whatnot at the gym and I bought a pack of sports. I was into sports. I have a whole drawer here from when I spent 30 grand that month on sports. And I realized my friends go to me, they're like, dude, you could do this. Cause they watch me. Like we go over to my friend's house, we turn on Whatnot, and I'm like, I'm about to buy this pack. Like a typical story for anybody right now that's watching, that's been on the platform Whatnot or TikTok or anywhere. That's how it usually goes. It's kind of a social thing. Like us three are together. We all like the hobby, and like you find an app that's cool, and then you get your two boys on board, and then every night you're like in there sharing the live, you're in there buying. I mean, 90% of the people that I've ever bought from me, my community, that's how it is. Like, oh, me and this guy are in a chat, or me and my kid are enjoying this. It's a social thing, But then I realized, like, dude, I spent $34,000 on Whatnot, and I had like $1,800 in value. I'm like, my friend that was sitting there, he's like, they call me John, like as my nickname. He's like, John, you would crush it on here because you have a seller's mentality. You've been basically a salesman since you were 10 years old when your dad opened up your shop. I was working at the register, and they're like, you should try it. I'm like, well, what am I going to do? I'm going to sell my stuff that I have. And I'm like, all right, sure. So I apply to Whatnot. I don't get accepted. I apply again. They want to show proof of like $100,000 in product. Just sent them a picture of something and then got approved, luckily. And then I started my first stream, and it was so relaxing because I didn't have an income at that time other than the views off YouTube. All my sponsors were cut off. But the reason I really stopped doing YouTube was because Trovo's 1-year contract ended, and they didn't want to re-sign me. So I was out $8 grand. So I'm like, oh, I'm not going to settle for 12 grand a month. I'm not trying to be greedy. It's just a big pay cut. So I'm like, I got to go do something else where I can make 100 grand a month. So that's why I was like, I'm going to take a break and find another thing to do, Yeah, man, I started Whatnot, and I was like, dude, if I can make $100 a day, that's all I want. If it takes me 18 hours, I'm used to that. There's no hard work for me. There's no really labor. I've done worse. I've worked for 18 hours in my dad's shop for $50. So I was like, $100. And then, sports didn't work out. 3 days, 3 streams in, my first 3 streams on Whatnot, sports was terrible. Nobody wanted my shit that I had. It was like some hockey players that nobody knew about. I was like, here you go, take all this stuff. I gained like $800 out of the $1,800 in value I had. And then I was like, I'll try Pokemon because I like Pokemon. I've always collected. I found my old collection. I was like, let me just try Pokemon. I clicked different category, and my 4th stream was Pokemon. And I'm like, all right, I sold some of my stuff, and I realized that there was a different community. Like people were actually buying a $30 card for like $28. They get a $2 deal. Right. I'm over here happy. Way better than sports. Sports, I was selling $100 slab of LaMelo Ball. nobody wanted to pay more than $30 for it. Like I was getting railed by it, basically by the offers. So I was like, Pokemon is the way to go. So then I make my way into a card shop here, Yeti Gaming. And I'm like, how much is an Astro Radiance booster box? They're like, oh, it's 100 or it's $90. I'm like, all right, if I do $90 and then I break it into an energy break, because I watched a lot of people do energy breaks on Whatnot, divided by 9, I can make like $30 a box. And everybody gets like 4 packs. Yeah, I mean, I started doing that. I made $20-$30. I go back, I buy 6 boxes. The next day, I buy a case. That sells out. I make 120. I'm like, all right, I got my $100 a day. And it was like within 3 hours. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna make this a 7-hour thing. And then I still have my book here that I wrote. Every day I kept track how much money I was making. And I went from making $100 a day to raising my goal to $200 a stream. But I don't equivalate time into this. If it takes 24 hours, I'm gonna make sure I get $200 saved, like profit. And then I'm like, oh, this is getting easier because I was building a community, and I'm like, all right, $500 a day. And I did it for like a month and a half straight, and it was like more than 5. I was like, I need to go to 1,000 a day. And I'm not trying to be greedy, but it was like I'm just getting good at what I'm doing. I'm getting more product in. But I've never taken $1 out because I was using my YouTube funds and my wife's paycheck to pay for all of our bills. And thankfully, with the money I made off YouTube, I was able to pay off all my debt. My house is paid off, car was paid off. It sold my BMW because my wife had a car. I didn't need it because I worked from here on Whatnot. I'm like, dude, I'm set with like $2,000 a month. And if I make 100 a day, that's $3,000. We're good with $5,000. Then my wife is like, hey, honey, we don't need your money that you make off Whatnot. Just keep buying product. And my dad was like, starting to be intrigued with what I'm doing because that's the first time he actually got involved.
Right.
Like, yeah, he's like, if you need $10,000, I'll give you $10,000. Like, go buy more. Because he wanted me to run my Whatnot the same way he ran his butcher shop and his grocery store, where you don't just have one pack of noodles of one brand on the shelf. You have 10 different brands of noodles, of the same freaking noodles, just different brands. Because then if somebody doesn't buy this brand, they might buy that brand.
Right.
And that's what I am today. I have over like 500, 600 products in my shop on Whatnot. I can't even upload everything. And I want to have the variety because when somebody rolls in, there's no way that they're not going to walk out with something that they like, especially if you can be price competitive. So yeah, that's how, it basically came over to Whatnot. And I realized that if I just do everything that all these people were doing right, that they were doing wrong, like shipping same day. I bought from like 25 different sellers on Whatnot just to test people out. Nobody got my package within that first week. So if I bought on a Sunday, I was like, let me see if I can get my package in on a Friday because it's 3 to 5 business days. I've never once gotten a package that week. So I'm like, all right, if I start a Whatnot channel, I need to ship same day or next day as fast as I can. And then I still have the book of pros and cons, and the cons is like 3 pages long. There's like 4 pros that I've seen in streamers. And then when I joined Whatnot at that time, I don't know if you guys were on Whatnot at that time, but 4 years ago when I joined on Whatnot, nobody had to buy it now. Everybody did bounties, and it was all like wheel games. Like it was all like a gambling thing. Like there was no actual go to a grocery store, pick which 10 different noodles you want, 10 different brands, and buy the noodles. It was just like, oh, you can give me $50 and hope to get those noodles that you want, but you might be stuck with rice. Like something you don't even want to go home with. You know what I mean? Like imagine doing that going to a grocery store. Imagine going to a grocery store and them saying like, all right, $20, what do you want? You want noodles? Well, you might walk out with chocolate because you're giving me $20 and I'll run a wheel spin on I didn't want that. I wanted to go into a Whatnot channel and buy something out of a shop, like a blister or a pack. And if I like the price, I do my research, I purchase it. So that's how I told you I spent $35,000 on the app. I had $1,800 in value because it was all those games going on, bounties, and there's no actual buy it now in the sports side. And it was all breaks too. So like, oh, I'm a Cardinals fan in baseball. I'm over here. I get stuck with Yankees. Like I don't want the Yankees.
Yeah.
I don't care if they're better. I want Cardinals cards, so, or just give me a box and a chance to get a variety of everybody,
Right.
So basically, my dad helped me grow by saying, you need to have variety, you need to have everything. So I just kept reinvesting. So 3 years, I just kept putting money back into. I just started paying myself, like I think I told you guys a couple weeks ago, like 8 months ago is when I got my first ever paycheck from this brand into my account. Now, I'm not saying I haven't lived off of it. I use stuff on my Amex. I go buy groceries and I pay it. But like an actual paycheck where I'm like, salary, was 8 months ago. So 3.5 years, $11 million in sales, where I first started taking bread out of the brand for myself. That all falls back with my dad actually seeing it work, because he comes in the room down here. I'm doing shipping. My whole house is flooded with packages. He's like, "So you did all this last night?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Okay." And then he thought it was going to be like a 2-3 day thing.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, "No." And then the next day there's more packages and there's more packages. And then he's seen me work. And what he really respected me was that I worked 13 to 18 hours every day and I slept for 4 hours. Like, I was really grinding my first 2 years and whatnot, man. It was a lot of time. I would never go back and redo it. If you tell me right now, Wash, if you tell me, Staxx, go back 4 years, redo everything you've done the same way, you're going to relive the same life, same amount of time invested. You will make 10x your money in profit. I would never go back and do that. Even if it's like 20 million, I would never go back and redo it. That was a rough patch of really grinding it out where you would never want to redo that shit ever again.
It's brutal, dude. It's a lot.
Yeah. You know how it is. Both of you guys know.
I do look back at some of the things I've done in some of the businesses and how much I've worked and how many hours you put into something. And I've actually thought that same thing, but I feel like that thought comes from where we're at now.
Right.
I wouldn't want to do that now. But back then you had that grind, that hustle, that grit to get it done. You wanted to get to where we are today. Yeah.
Well, it's just so hard to get here with that.
Well, you put me in this mindset back then, I'd be like, I think now I'd find the easier way to do it, right?
Sure.
But back then, before whatever happened, if I had the same mindset, you just rewound time 4 years, I'd probably do the same thing, like you're grinding it out because you're in the same boat again. You're like, oh, but if you took me today and put me 4 years back, that'd probably be a whole nother outcome that I'd come out with. So,
yeah. So like saying that, and you've said, talked about your dad influencing your business, all this, and getting all of that time on whatnot. Like, what's something that like a piece of advice you would give to creators, just starting out or looking to do this, or, they have a collection, they're like, well, I think I could do that.
Yep.
Like, what would you change now that would make it easier, to get where you are now?
What you're saying is if somebody was to start now to make it easier.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I streamed last night. I stream 2 days a week now, and I have somebody that does the other 5 days where I do all the back end stuff. And I love those 2 days where I still get to stream and talk to my community. And we had that last night, like literally around this time, we had that conversation. It's cutting corners. I don't think I've ever cut corners in life. Like going back to my dad giving me the shovel and you're digging a foundation. There's no cutting corners. You got to dig 4 feet deep, 16 by 16 to build that room that we were adding. There's no, you can't just start here, dabble here and make it look like 4 feet. It has to be 4 feet deep,
right,
straight for the inspector to be like, all right, you can pour the concrete. So I've never really cut corners in life because my dad always told me that once you get into that mindset of cutting corners and like looking for easier ways out, like the easy way out, you start getting used to it to the point where when you start really needing help or you start falling in a ditch, you always think that there's somebody that'll reach their hand down and get you back out. But if you learn how to get out of it yourself and you figure out a way and you struggle, it'll be way easier to always come out of that problem that you're in. Like, I go through so many problems in this with this business that I do and making bad deals and stuff. And there is way easier ways I can go about it by just picking up a phone call and calling you and being like, hey, would you help me move this box? I overpaid on it. Would you I just need to get the funds to put it into the new set. And you'd be like, yeah, sure, Staxx, no problem. But like, if I did that to you once and then I do it again, I'm going to rely on that. And then I'll never be able to have that mentality of learning how to solve the issues yourself. You're going to be dependent on cutting that corner. And I told this to my chat yesterday. I was like, what's really crazy story right now in this time and age that we are today in my business. I have a lot of friends from high school. And when you used to go to PE class and you got to run a mile, and then when you finish a mile, you get to go play basketball and do the fun stuff like throw a football around or whatever. But you got to do the 1 mile run, and everybody's like, oh my God, I got to run a mile. And so a funny thing that I said in my chat, I was like, the same people that were cutting, it's only 4 laps. And it's meant to be good for you. It's meant to be good for your health, to get exercise in, whatever. The people that were cutting the corners and when the teacher looks away to like finish their 4 laps so they can just like shed 3-4 minutes off a 10-minute, 15-minute run.
Mhm.
Those are the same people today that are asking me for a job because they never learned to not cut corners. It's the mentality like they're still doing nothing with their life today. And I'm not saying like you have to like on a fitness point of view, it's the mentality like, oh, she's looking away. I'm going to cut this corner real quick and not run an extra 20 steps.
Yeah.
And the people that have just ran and did their thing are the people that I know today from high school that are successful. They are working in as an engineers or whatever, having self businesses. And that's just an example of the mentality, like you said. Is there a way to make it easier? There is ways to make it easy. It's still a lot of work. Anybody can be a streamer, yes, and you might get lucky. Like there's people who become celebrities overnight, like the Hawk Tour girl. There is ways that you can just luckily get drawn into all this money and fame overnight. But how many people get to that? Like it's a 1 in a million. Every 10 years we get a Hawk Tour girl or somebody like that one girl, how about that or whatever, that just gets that fame overnight and creates a wealth of generational wealth instantly over a stupid line or something like that. But everybody else that's up there at that level of success has grinded for it. And one thing I can say is if you put time to the hustle, like if you're going to say, oh, I'm only going to stream 5 hours today and whatnot for the next month, I'm going to see if I can pop off. As soon as you implement time in your goal, you're not probably going to see the success. When I started streaming, I said, I'm going to make $100 today. And dude, if I stream for 30 hours, I'm not getting off until I made $100. And then you sit down after the 30-hour stream and you figure out, all right, dude, I got to figure out a way to make this down to like 10 hours.
Yeah.
And you figure out a way. Now, it would be easy in today's world where you can just be like, oh, I'm going to go see what Staxx is doing. Oh, he's doing energy breaks with Crown Zenith. I'm doing an energy break with Crown Zenith tomorrow. It's going to work. In this day, it's very competitive and hard to do that, but to an extent, it'll work. But that's the cutting corners that I go back to. Like, oh, you're just going to see what somebody else is doing. And you're going to want to do that. Like, instead of just figuring out your own way. Like,
Right.
all right, I'm going to do an energy break and I'm going to give away an extra free custom card. Like, I'm always implementing ways to be different than everybody else. So when somebody does join and do this thing with you, they're like, oh, well, this is different than what everybody else is doing. That's why when I started Whatnot and I have my list of pros and cons, if I just do all these cons the right way, shipping same day, this and that, I have to succeed. I have to be able to make this work. And it did. I mean, that's the blueprint is being different and really staying on top of it and putting in the work. I mean, yourself, man, without the grind, there's no success. You can't time success. Like, oh, I'm only going to do 5 hours and hope I pop off. It's even going back to your Twitch days. How many times have you streamed to 10, 12 hours playing video games and you had like 3 people in your chat and 2 of them is your bot and your other account?
100%. I had never really thought about it like that but like, I mean, dude, I work all hours of the day.
Yeah, I know.
I've never even thought about it where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm actually working like
A lot.
probably 18 hours a day.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, think about it. Us 3, we always meet at card shows and stuff and we hang out. That's not a vacation.
no, it's not.
It's a
It's not even
4-hour work shift
Yeah.
because we don't sleep.
Yeah.
Like, how many days have we stayed up all night till 6 in the morning and we go to the con at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning? And how many people do you know, like our buddy Garrett and like Corey, where we haven't slept? It's all work. And every conversation that we do engage when we're all together at our Airbnb or at the hotel, it's all work related.
Yeah.
We all talk about what box are we going to break, or it's all work. It's people think like, yeah, it might seem like we're hanging out and vibing out, and we do. We have some drinks, but at the end of the day, everything is work. Like everything we talk about is Pokemon related and business and making deals, or we're trading with each other. Like, hey, you got a bunch of these packs, trade me, I'll trade, whatever. So people think it's like, oh, they're going to a con, they have a great Airbnb, they're partying, they're out with Waka. All that stuff is great. But even while we're out, like me and Ryan, we were out with Waka that one time a couple weeks ago. Was it Dallas? And anything we talk about is work related. Like we don't know any better. You don't know how to say, oh,
Always.
what's the next family vacation? Like, I don't think I've ever asked you, like, have you go on vacation? It's all like, oh, what's the next, like, how are you going to do for black and white? Are you think it's going to be a good set? Like,
Yeah, what are we doing?
like, what are we going to do? It's always work, even at the club. So it's not sunshine and green grass everywhere, man. It's people, it seems like it from their perspective, the community's perspective. Oh, they're out partying. They just live this lavish lifestyle. Like, this business is rough, man. This business is tough. It's very competitive. And without putting in endless hours, sleepless days, sleepless nights, depending on when you're live or when you're doing, it's impossible to make it. I mean, in my opinion, that's why I said I don't think there is an easy way to make it anymore. Now it's even harder than it was for 4 years ago because there's over 100,000 streamers throughout all platforms. When I started on Whatnot 4 years ago, it was just Whatnot. TikTok Shop wasn't even a thing. People had like custom made websites at that time and working away on Twitch. Like they make their own websites and whatever. Like there wasn't a platform. Like now there's multiple platforms and there's thousands and thousands of sellers. So now what I did in these 4 years, if somebody was to start today and want to do this for a career to make it to where I'm at today, I think it will take them double the time, even if they put in the same amount of hours. I think because it's way more compact now and competitive. Like it's harder to grow. I mean, you know yourself, you've been on Whatnot. How long have you been on Whatnot, Wash?
Just over a year now.
Yeah, and you can see that if with the quality of stream that you have, and I love watching your streams, the quality of streams that you have, the product that you offer, the transparency and loyalty and entertainment. If you had that when I joined, you would be like insane different in a year. So if you started 4 years ago and put in this year of work that you did for a year and a half, but you're still growing right now, but you would be like, because you wouldn't have, there wasn't that much competition.
Right.
And like you said, it was all like the Wild West back then. Because when you started streaming, I was streaming and I would just start an auction at $1 and I'd put a pack on the screen, right? And then when they hit $4, I'd splash like another pack, right? And I'd just be like, keep bidding, I'll keep adding packs. And then all of a sudden, someone would put like $10, I'd be like, add like 7 packs, and it starts bidding up. Like I just kept it going, kept going. I used to do like trust stuff back then. I would just start a blind dollar auction and be like, bid it up, I'll take care of you. And then I put somebody like the early version of what a trust was back in 2021, back then. And then I kind of got out of doing the Whatnot stuff. But one thing I remember back then when you started, the biggest thing that like set you apart for me, like watching your streams back then, was the Japanese product.
Yeah.
And like everyone's struggling to get this. It was like so hot. And here you are, just stacks of cases like stacked up. And I'm like, man, this guy, what's he got going on that he's getting, 50 times the product any other streamers get in Japanese? And I know that your channel really was taking off then, and you were just ripping box after box after box all night long. And it was just you doing it every night. Yeah, it was crazy. What, back then, what made you have the foresight to like get into Japanese, like, and be able to make a connection, like a strong connection to be able to get product like that?
So going back to the book that I have, I wish I would have dug it out prior to this so I can show how it looked, but it's somewhere. My wife, we're in the midst of moving everything into our storage rooms. When I was buying from Pokemon streamers, building as a strategic plan of how I'm going to run my stream and what I want to do and what I want to make sure that I do right to be able to because if I'm going to do something, I want to start off and make sure it's perfected from the beginning and to be able to build upon that, not just start it and wing it and be like, oh, I'm just going to turn it on and grow from there. I don't want to make mistakes during my live streams and fix them in the next one. I want to make sure I don't even make it in the first one. So one of the cons was I couldn't afford a $110 box when I wanted to rip XY Evolutions, or it was like $150. I couldn't afford that, and English was expensive. So I remember I can't tell you whose stream it was. I won a bounty, and they had a bounty if you rip VMAX Climax Japanese, and I knew nothing about Japanese product at this time. I thought the cards looked awesome, and this is probably anybody that's watching this that relates to Japanese, first time ever interaction with Japanese cards. The quality is superior. The art, the exotic letters, their language looks awesome, and it's just like an alakazam in like Japanese is just like it just looked really different than English, and it looked nice. So I'm like, you rip a box of VMAX Climax, I think it was $170. And I'm like, dude, this is the biggest purchase I've ever made on the Pokemon side for a 10-pack box. But if you hit the God Pack, you get another box. And I'm like, I didn't know the odds of a God Pack. So, or no, it wasn't a God Pack. It was a gold. It was a gold, like one of the gold cards that they had. And I hit the gold. And then I got another box and I was like, holy smokes. So when I got the packaging and I seen these Japanese cards, I wanted to go on Whatnot and just buy a box. They were overpricing it because the bounty. Can I just buy a box for like a little bit above market and just not have the bounty attached to it where you raise the price $50 on the box? Like, I know you're going to give away another box, but I don't need that other box. I just want to, can you give me a box for $120 instead of $170?
Right.
You know, just to pay. And then there's nobody with a buy it now. Like I told you, it was like more like just bounties and auctions. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to sell some Japanese stuff. So I go on StockX and I only did one order on StockX. I bought 6 VMAX boxes and I realized how cheap they were. They were like $90. And I'm like, okay. I put them up on my stream for $120, $115. I was like, if I make $10 a box, I'm golden. $60. 60 packs, that's a print. For me, I used to stream 10 hours the first week or two to make $100. So for me to make it in 6 boxes, which take 5 minutes, was like a no-brainer.
Right.
I got my first 6 boxes of VMAX and I had one of my first buyers, Nas, he came in and he still comes in till this day in my channel. And he bought one and he ripped it. And he's like, yo, you got the cheapest price of VMAX Climax on the app because everybody else was doing bounties on everything. So they did have stuff in the bin, but it was encapsulated bounty. So they could pump the price and make more out of that box. And they know the odds are like 1 in every 70 boxes will pull a gold. They're making the most they can. So I said, you know, going back to the days, the kid with the shovel with no cutting corners, you got to just dig. I'm like, I'll just keep ordering these boxes and just keep making $10 a box. I'm going to make more money than that guy. Even if I don't, I'm going to make $500 a day streaming 12 hours.
Right.
It's a lot of packs, but you know, that's the mentality I had, is just quantity and making a small margin, but just quantity. And that business model works for me today, where we rip 800 to 1,200 packs every stream, where we do make $50 to $1.50 a pack, depending on what it is and how we source it. And that's great money. I mean, that's just a part of like just doing breaks. I mean, when you think about it, it's just, but there's a lot of hard work to it, because I could sell a couple vintage packs, which take in more money and higher risk. Like you got to buy a $20,000 box, you get a bigger reward when you sell the pack. But then, and I got to sit there and sell 5 packs to make $500. When I'm like, I can rip 500 packs and sell them for like almost market or below market and make $500. But think about it, rip 500 packs or 5 packs. Do you want to dig 4-foot foundation or a 3-foot foundation with a 16 by 16 feet room? That's another 2 days of labor. When you think about it, for somebody like, oh, it's just a foot. Oh, it's not just a foot. Yeah, it's a foot deep. Then you got 16 by 16 feet. Like, that's a lot. So,
Right.
So going back to Japanese, nobody had it. So I just started buying Japanese stuff because it was affordable. It was half the price of anything that was English. So if an English box is $100, I was selling Japanese at 50, buying them at like $35 a box. So then I found my supplier and I just bought from that one guy. The relationship I built with him, I was like, I'm going to stay loyal to you. I know you might be expensive than anybody else, but if I just build this relationship with him, he's going to constantly supply me with stuff. And it's a safe thing, like safety thing. Like he sends it to me, I pay him. Where I pay him, he sends it to me. I don't have to worry about getting scammed, you know, whatever. It might be $5 more expensive than somebody else. That means I just make less on the margin that I have implemented to do. But that's fine. Like I have a connect, you know, and that's where it goes back to you, Ryan, where I made that connection with one Japanese distributor, which is one of my friends and business partners now, where I was always having a steady flow of sourcing. And it wasn't always the best price. There's times where I sold boxes, made $3 a box because I didn't want to raise my VMAX Climax price. But I stayed loyal to him. So then when new releases came in, he's like, hey, you get my biggest allocation because you spend the most with me. Everybody else that he used to sell to that were on platforms like Whatnot and TikTok or whatever, they just buy from whoever's cheaper. So everybody in today's world that does streaming like on Whatnot, oh, I got 5 Japanese suppliers. I'm like, I could have 100. They reach out to me on Instagram and they have better pricing than my main guy. But if I don't buy with my main guy and I don't keep up with that allocation, then when it's time on a release day, I don't get 70 cases of Wrestle Festival like this last previous set or V-Star Universe. I don't get 200 cases of V-Star Universe because this guy's gonna be like, oh, you only spend $5,000 with me, $8,000 with this guy because you're over here trying to get the cheapest price instead of building a full-blown relationship with one guy and then just being set, you know? It's like having friends in this world. Would you rather have 3 real motherfucking friends or would you rather have 100 fake ones or semi-friends? You know, it kind of goes back to that. Like you have 3 real ones. If something goes down, they'll help you. You know they will.
Right.
Or have 100 semi-friends where you need help and then like all of them say like, oh, I don't know, you know, like you're not that close. So like I'd rather have 3 real friends rather than 100. And that's the same thing that goes with my suppliers. Like right now I can have a lot of them because I have that established community where I can just source so much shit where I'm like, hey, Wash, do you want this new set? I got this guy offering me 10 cases. I don't want them. You can take them. But when you're starting off, just stick to one guy, even if he's more expensive, because it builds that relationship and trust where that's what helped me. I mean, that's a big advice for anybody that's starting up the stream and wanting a connection with somebody. Like stick to one guy and be loyal and just keep buying from them. You're going to get a good relationship and then you're going to be able to like, you know, build off that. And then when you get big enough, you can buy from multiple people. You know, you got the money for that.
Yeah, and when you get bigger, I mean, when you're working with distros, a lot of times they're like, when you're making large orders, you have to take some other sort of lesser product to get bigger product, or they bundle the stuff they can't get rid of to
Always.
you help us out, right? And you see these small streamers, and that is probably one of the biggest mistakes that they make is they're always just searching. All they want is the best product only.
Yeah.
They don't want to bundle with any crap, and they want the lowest price. And all they do is search, and it's like, okay, you're not going to find anything. You know, you're going to find a box here, a box there.
Yeah.
Like, how is that sustainable for growth? Like, if you don't take any of this other stuff or like build a relationship with one distributor, because I supply a lot of streamers and like people come in, they start up and they ask questions, I'll help them out. But at the same time, it's like, oh, I got these other boxes over here and I got these boxes over here. What do you got for me on this one? I'm like, well, I got to give all these guys that buy every set from me first and then you're after them because, you know, you choose to save $20 here, $10 there. And, you know, that doesn't really help me out.
Yeah.
And I'm going to help the people that help me out. Yeah, exactly.
Same.
I think that's probably one of the biggest mistakes new streamers make. So you've been streaming now then 4 years, 5 years?
This is like the 4th year. Yeah.
4th year. The product lineup you have keeps growing. You know, you have quite a few branches in the Pokemon industry, supplies, stuff like that. How do you decide what you're going to launch next? And what's your process for testing or validating your new products?
So what I do is I'm a big sealed collector, and every time throughout my years of streaming, I've always wanted people to invest in this hobby because I believe that investing in sealed is always a safe way. So I always go back to, I never did bounties. I never ran auctions in my channel. I want people to be able to walk away happy and getting value. And, you know, there's people that used to come through my streams and they're like, Staxx, I have $100. What would you do with them if you were? And I was like, well, I would buy a box of, you know, this Japanese box and I would put it away. They're like, well, why is your reasoning behind that? I was like, well, one, this is your only $100 you have to spend. You could open it and get like $10 worth of cards if you want to gamble. But I never recommend anybody gambling with their last $100. If it's not your last $100 where you can't eat, but if it's your last $100 to like you're spending money or whatever, you can buy this box and you have the value in the box, and the box could potentially go up, which everything's been going up. So then I realized I sold a lot of sealed product to my community because a lot of people on Whatnot, going back to the pros and cons list of what people were doing, nobody ever wanted to ship sealed because of the shipping. Everybody was rip hits only. So I'm like, all right, I'm all for sealed product. And I'm like, and then people were watching me, other streamers are like, how do you ship all these big boxes out? And I'm like, well, I just ship them. I bubble wrap them, and I spend 5-6 hours of shipping every day, and I do it. So I sold a lot of sealed product. And then I'm like, I went on eBay and then I bought some acrylics. And I'm like, all right, these are cool because I want the cellophane to be like safe because I have kids. They drop the box, it'll rip a tear, and then it loses value. So I bought couple acrylics off eBay. It was like 35 bucks. And I'm like, man, these are neat. Like it's a nice display piece. It looks good for your collection. And then when I'm streaming, because this was a stream setup that I was in when I started, I always do a little room tour and I show people like you have behind you, like a very nice setup. And I used to show my chat and they're like, oh, those are nice. What kind of cases are those? Well, they're acrylics. So anything anybody was ever interested in my stream throughout my career I always made sure I got it then. So if I seen 3 people interested in acrylics, dude, it took me like 5 days. And I'm like, well, I got acrylics now. So I capitalize on everything. So, but then I realized that the quality of these acrylics wasn't good and it's never consistent. So I buy one acrylic off eBay and I go buy another one. I don't save the seller or anything. I just buy another one. None of them are the same. And it doesn't aesthetically look pleasing when you have 3 Sword and Shield booster boxes, Astro, Lost, and whatever. And they're all different acrylics. One's thicker, one's thinner, one's cheaper, one's whatever. So I'm like, I went on Alibaba and because I dealed a lot with Alibaba selling phone cases at my dad's grocery store, like Croatian, Bosnian, Serbian, like when the FIFA World Cups were going on, like I sold tons of phone cases. So I always had that entrepreneur mindset to make money through my dad's shop. And I ordered these acrylics. I didn't like them. I went through another company. It took me like 4 companies on Alibaba that I found one really good company that made these acrylics. And they said, you tell us the dimensions, the thickness of the plastic glass, how thick of magnets you want. We'll make it to your liking. And that's your acrylic. And I was like, well, I like that. Now you're not just feeding me what you have pre-made. You're going to make it to my liking. So we went back and forth with a couple samples and I got the right acrylic. And I'm like, all right, I ordered them and I realized they were like $10 delivered. If you order like 100 of them, which is like $1,100 total with shipping, I get acrylics and I'm selling them at the same price everybody on eBay was at 35. So 2 years in, I realized I did the math. I sat down and I'm like, I sold $260,000 of acrylics in 2 years. Like I sold a lot of acrylics. Even on the side, like I get some of my big buyers, they reach out. I want 20. So I was ordering 500 at a time and I kept selling acrylics. And then that's where that comes to answer your question is I want to branch out. And I just made a company called Omni Acrylics where I'm going to have a website for acrylics. And everybody that has ever bought an acrylic from me keeps asking for more because they want to go back to the problem that I had. They want them all the same. And I realized that there is acrylic brands out there, but none of them are like really focused on the branding. It's just like a brand on there. And I'm like, well, if all these people that go to Collecticons, like Graded Guard, how they built their legacy within a short period of time by putting a bumper on a slab, and now everybody's Graded Guard is like the go-to for the slab protector. I'm like, well, I want to do that with acrylics because you go to a Collecticon, there's not one table that's an acrylic. Like Zion cases, you got Graded Guard, and then Omni acrylics. You buy a $30,000 fire red leaf green box, you want to go get an Omni acrylic. You're not just gonna, they do come with acrylics, but like I want Omni acrylics to be like every household, every collector uses Omni acrylic. Like, it just to brand it like Graded Guard. Like there's other knockoffs of Graded Guard and they're great. Like they're not like terrible, but if you have one Graded Guard or 2 in your collection, you want all your slabs to be the same. Like aesthetic, the stacking and all that. So that's where I started Omni Acrylics. And then TCG Wholesale, I started another company called TCG Wholesale, which is basically just like going to be a website where I just throw up a lot of excess product that I have, Japanese cases that my guy wants to move and to ship from there. So it's nothing like too crazy, but to be able to give an English online supplier vibe, like a Southern hobby that's open to anybody, to the regular startup streamer, basically. But how it's going to work, it's going to be allocation based off of how much you spend on the website. So if you spend an X amount within 3 months, like if you cross 10 grand, you will get a tab that's going to be open when you log in. You'll get a special tab that'll drop down that you could see certain deals that the people who just made an account won't get. Like Lost Origin cases are not going to be in the beginners tier because I'll get eaten up by bots. I want people that spend 10 grand or more to be able to see that tab. And then if you spend 100 grand, in 3 months, you're going to see like the pre-release of like black bolt and white flare Japanese at ridiculous cheap pricing. And I don't have to worry about bots because bots can't even see that tab because it'll be activated. Those tabs will be only open to the people based on how much money they spent on my website. So
Yeah.
that's the thing that I got. I don't see a website out there today that does that. So you don't need to apply for distro. You just got to buy a lot on my website, and you're gonna work your way up to cheaper and better deals. So
That's really smart.
yeah,
I actually like having business conversations with you. I feel like we always come up with something new, like bouncing ideas back and forth. Yeah.
each other all the time.
Yeah. I like that a lot. You said you capitalize on everything, and I definitely want to touch on that. You are for sure one of the most resourceful people. Like when we had I think we were in Miami, and just like hearing like the stages of all the stuff that you do all the way through the product.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's like, it almost goes back to like a restaurant type mentality. Like there is no waste, right?
Wow.
You cut the trimmings, you make hamburger, you take the leftover steaks and you make soup or whatever, whatever stew meat.
Everything.
It's all, there's no waste in anything. And I can see that you've brought that into your Pokemon business as well. With such long-term thinking, how do you balance growth, which, there's natural growth, and then obviously there's accelerated growth, which when you accelerate your growth, it could be risky. How do you balance that growth with sustainability?
At one point, I had 3 Whatnot accounts and 2 streamers on each account, and I was the only solo streamer on mine. And I was making a lot more money supplying these, sending product out to this guy in California, to this person in Alabama, this guy in Montana, this guy in New Jersey. And it was very successful. Lots of product was being sold. I was making a lot more money than I was just being solo. But the problem was, with more money, there was more headache. And once I had 8 people working with me, every day something goes wrong with one of them. And I couldn't deal with it. So then I trimmed it back down. So I started scaling. And if I would have just kept up with it, I probably would be doing well right now. But I realized, I look back at everything my father's done in his career and he's successful. My dad could have had 20 shops today if he wanted to, but he's just worried about perfecting the one that he has. And I thought I could do it. I always told him, I'm like, you could have like 5 more shops. He's like, yeah, of course. Or I could just leave the $1 million in the bank account that we have and just live off of the money that we keep getting now and just make more out of this shop. There's a lot of improvement. We can hire somebody and we can, make sure get lower margins. My dad's like, if you can find me a veal company that can give us 50 cents cheaper per pound on veal, we're going to be making $5,000 to $7,000 more just by sit on your ass on your phone call, make phone calls and find somebody that'll sell you 50 cents a pound cheaper. And that's how you make money. You're over here worried about investing 300 grand in one shop and then finding employees. And so I think about that because you going back to what the last statement you made about utilizing everything that I do to make money. I learned that from my dad because when my dad gets a whole piece of chuck roast, if you get the trimmed version, it's $3.99 a pound, where they do the work for you and they cut the fat off and you just got to slice it up and you can serve it to the people. So it's like a easy way of just preparing. You save labor costs. Or my dad can get like the chuck roll where it has all the fat on it. That's $1 cheaper. But then what my dad does, he shaves it off and then uses that fat to make sausages that make us even more money. So you get it $1 cheaper. The fat is basically free. And then the sausages are basically mostly fat and mixed with a little bit of meat because, the grease. And you're making money on the sausages. So like that goes back to Pokemon. It's the same thing as like, let's say when somebody looks, the average Joe or the average streamer, when they look at an ETB and it's like $50, they only look at it like, all right, 50 divided by 9 packs. That's how much I'm paying per pack. If you really look at it that way, then yes, that's your pack per price. But if you dissect it and say the sleeves are $1, the box to the right collector at the right time is 50 cents, or even if you put it on Facebook Marketplace, I got 100 empty ETBs. I sell them all the time. 100 empty ETBs for your bulk for whatever, $10. Boom. It's just, instead of throwing it in trash, I just put it in the back of my warehouse and I just I upload the one listing and it's gone that day. There's no work behind it. They pick it up and they do it. You could put it more than $10. I've sold them for more. But especially if it's like certain art or like the older, like Fusion Strike, you guys wouldn't believe me, but I have like 2,000 empty Fusion Strike boxes in my garage. And I kept thinking, like, what if they're all like $10 a piece one day? Like, I got a lot, and they are, which is a crazy part right now. People would pay for a Fusion Strike ETB empty box $5. It's kind of crazy, but it's true. And a lot of people throw that away. So when you take that, the way I dissect an ETB is like, all right, the sleeves I can get $10 for, the promo I can get $5 for this. So the pack price might not be, it's not $3 or more, it's $1.80 when you get the $20 back out of the guts out of it.
Right.
You know? So that goes back to that mentality. You gotta, but it is a lot more work. But I've learned that through my dad, seeing him buy the cheaper meat, have to do with that extra work, and then figuring out what to do with that to be able to make you more money. And I think that's where a lot of my success, a lot of my profit has really come from that. And I'm very proud of that, just because of the fact that I feel like if I did throw out all the boxes, all the sleeves, and all the stuff that is worthless at that time when it's brand new, I'm like, but now when I pull out sleeves of Hidden Fates, I got like 800 of them. I'm selling them at $20 a sleeve.
Yeah, Hidden Fates is going crazy on that right now.
I got 200 of the promos that nobody wanted at $1 a pop that I'm like, I'm just going to stash this away. I just sold a promo yesterday for a deal to somebody at 110. So it's like that mentality, like, dude, store it. Everything is going to have its value. As long as Pokemon put their art on it, it's going to have value, because with age, I feel Pokemon is like wine. The older it is, the better, the more expensive it gets. Even just the wrapper of a wine bottle, if you peel it off, has value. People sell that of like Dom Perignon from like 50 years ago or something like that. So that's the way I see it. It's that mindset. Like even these Pokemon wrappers, I made money on these before, and people laughed at me, but I was printing on them. What I used to do is, because we used to open up 2,000, 3,000 packs of these on every release day, and they're all the same pack art, like colors. So I used to buy a shredder. My wife had a shredder actually, and it died how much we used it. But I used to shred them, and it shreds into thin lines. And then I put it in those 10-gallon bags of the trash bags, the black ones. And I go to your local store that does like Easter baskets and like Thanksgiving baskets, where all the shit they want to get rid of, all the shelves that has this quick expiration date, they put it in these baskets with these little stuffing Easter paper or whatever. And then they put like a basketball or whatever, and they sell it as like a set, like a bunch of different variety chocolates, coffee, whatever. They were buying a 10-gallon bag from me for $50. And I fill one up every night. And I was making like $800 to $1,200 a month off of these wrappers, and not having to call the guys, my trash company, to pick up twice a week and pay more. I was getting paid, but I did consider work. But that goes back to me not having a time mentality. Like, I'm just going to do it.
Right.
If I'm done with work, I don't have anything to do the next 2 hours, I'm not going to go play games. I'm going to shred these because these are going to make me money. So I figured, like, with everything, it's the time, but with everything, now I can't do it, because for the $50 that would take me to shred these, I can make a phone call and flip a box and make $50 on it. But during the time that I needed money the most, this came in clutch,
Yeah. Definitely a tiered thing when you start in business versus, as you keep growing. That goes back to the no shortcuts thing, right? Like at that time, that was what needed to happen.
Absolutely.
Do you have any dream collaborations or products you'd like to bring to life?
Like collabs, like with people?
Yeah, or like even with a product company. And any way you want to look at it, really, like if it would be like anyone in the space or anyone making products, or even other supplies or anything in the space, anything you'd like, any dream collaborations?
Yeah. So, well, TCG Wholesale, I started making my own repack products, which, since I have an excess amount of Japanese and English packs and whatever I source, I make these bags where you get one pack out of 8 different booster box sets of Japanese, and then you get a keychain in there, and I have a certain price. So what I want to do initially with have certain people I collab with, like let's say Wash or you, with your brands on them, like making a Japanese Wash Your Hands edition where it has like his logo or his color base, and every bag that I sell, he would get a cut out of it. And the cool thing is for me is it'll draw people to my website and but it would be cool for him because he gets paid out of and he doesn't do any labor. He doesn't provide any funds for the product. It's just me using his brand and his community to come and buy it from my website. I get the marketing, I get the email list, I get the people, and he gets paid. Because that goes back to when I was a content creator. I was sponsored by Glitch Energy at one point for selling, those gaming powders. And the way I made my money was obviously I got a stipend every month for like $500 or something like that, $1,000 to make like reels and stuff. But I was getting paid by people using code Staxx. And every time somebody goes and buys a certain flavor, I get 10% or 5% of it. But if I had my own flavor that they wanted to launch, I would get every time somebody buys a can, I would get like $5 of that powder, of like that gaming powder, like the Staxx GT gaming powder or whatever. So I kind of want to do that because it's more like fun to collaborate because it'll help you grow your website. But it's also fun that he could be like, yo, I got my own bags. He could sell them on his stream and I would wholesale it out to him at cost. Whatever it costs me to make them, I don't need to, like, my labor will be free. But what I would get out of him is him telling people that they could purchase it on my website if they really want more, to be like, hey, you guys can grab it or put it on your socials or whatever. Or we're collaborating with Wash and Cardboard Vault, whatever, or having like TC Garrett bags or something like that. Do like a vintage edition or do like Godzilla or whatever, like a bunch of people that I'm friends with in the hobby that want to support me. And if you guys started up a small business within this hobby, I'm a supporter of it automatically. You don't even have to ask me, just tell me and I'm there, or however I can help, because I love integrating our communities and being able to grow together, because I always feel like it's impossible to grow a business by yourself. You have to have good networking and good friends around you and good business-minded people that are doing well for themselves, that don't depend on you, to grow together and keep expanding. I mean, that kind of goes back to like Coca-Cola and all these multi-billion-dollar companies. They don't all work for themselves. Deep down inside, behind the scenes, I wouldn't be surprised if Coca-Cola and Pepsi have a lot of great relationships where they work together because they're like, hey, let's not work against each other. We can make it look like that, but we're taking over. We're the monopoly here with Coca-Cola and Pepsi. Like, let's not fight over the bread and shed blood. Let's break it. Like, let's work together. And sometimes you have to acknowledge, like, I am friends with some streamers that make a lot more money than me, but I don't look at that. To me, if I'm happy with how much I make, and that's where it settles, where I made $100 a day and I settle for that. Somebody wouldn't settle for $200 a day or $500. It all goes back to how comfortable you are. And then I think that goes back to, like you said, to how I make relationships with people, is because I'm so humble, where I'm like, I want you to make 10 million a month, and you telling me you made 10 million a month off streaming, I would be more than happy for you, because I am happy where I'm at. I don't need any more. But more is always great, right? But if I really wanted to scale, I could have more, but I also don't want that headache. I want more time with my kids. I want, I like the 5 days off, 2 days on way better than working 7 days a week and making an extra 200 grand a month. Like, for me, I could do that, but I just don't, time is very valuable now, because I lost that the first 4 years building this up.
Right.
All right, we got a little rapid fire here for you.
All right.
I'll just give you a couple questions here. First thing that comes to mind: favorite Pokemon of all time?
Charmander.
Charmander, I like it.
Yeah.
What's one whatnot moment you'll never forget?
My Bloop Fest. It was Christmas Eve. Well, I've had 3 big Bloop Fests where you can like bloop a gift to somebody else in chat. They took that feature out recently. But I remember Christmas Eve, it was just me. Big O was with his family in Jersey and his wife's family. We were able to do where we did a countdown, like the New Year's Eve ball drop.
Yeah.
And where if whoever wants to, we had like 400 people in chat. Whoever wants to feel generous and financially can do it. I had like $2 packs in the bin. I had dollar items, whatever, just to make somebody else's day that's unfortunate to be able to buy something.
Yeah.
Whoever wants to join this bloopathon, for everybody to bloop at the same time and just like crash the bloop feature.
Yeah.
And we did 428 orders in literally 5 seconds.
That's so
I think
wild.
that was just a crazy moment. I mean, I've done a lot of crazy cool, but that showed to me the strength of a community that I've built and the power that I had to be able to, and I literally told chat, I was like, guys, if you can't afford it, don't worry about it. Accept the free gifts. Just make sure you say thank you. And people just went crazy. I mean, 400 people.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people that had multiples back to back, but it was 400 orders. Items were new. It was crazy.
Coffee or energy drink for a long grind day?
I don't drink coffee ever. I like the smell of coffee, but I don't drink it.
And then a product you wish somebody would invent for Pokemon.
A product, like it could be anything.
Can be anything.
Oh man, that's not a rapid fire question. That's a full blown. Now you got me thinking like startup business mindset where you're like, all right, let's do, because I feel like I don't know, man.
What about from Pokemon specifically? Is there a product type that you wish they would develop?
Yes, that numbered cards.
100%.
Yeah,
Numbered cards would be great.
That's what comes to mind for me too. Yeah, I think
what Magic the Gathering is doing, I think that would be very good for collectors, and it would really draw in a lot more people to really want. It's nice pulling an Umbreon VMAX out of Evolving Skies, but like if you can pull a numbered one out of a specialty, if they did numbered cards out of specialty sets only,
Yeah.
like Crown of Venus or something, that'd be crazy.
that would be, especially in the next 3 years, we'll see how much more they start printing. Obviously, they have plans to increase production, probably double what they're making now. And if they could add something with more rarity, I think that'll definitely help balance it out. So
that's kind of scary if they do double the amount, because that'll be,
it's already kind of crazy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When it'll be crazy is when the market dips.
Oh yeah.
And then they're making double what they're making during the hype. Yeah, it's going to be nuts.
It'll be wild.
Yeah, so much product. All right, we're going to do the pack battle. You chose Lost Origins.
Yeah, that's what I could find here.
We'll just start at the first card and we'll just go back till we get to the reverse. Oh, I made it. You made it.
We there.
All right, ready? Oh no. Cooked. Oh, Wash. Wash.
The Drapion V-Star, baby.
Saves it.
Wash, I challenge you to one-handed pack rip.
No, I can't do it. After you showed me that video, I literally sat there for hours and tried to do it.
I remember being in Discord and you were like, dude,
There's no way.
I got cards flying everywhere. Packs.
That's awesome.
This was awesome, man. Thank you guys for having me to be a part of this, man. I really feel very valued, and lots of respect to both of you for wanting me to be a part of this, because it really shows a lot. You guys could choose anybody to put on your show, and I know you guys work hard to making this happen. And for you guys to reach out to me really shows more than just a friendship we have, more than just you guys wanting people to hear the story and everything. So, I wish you guys the greatest success with this. I think you guys are doing something great here. And I watched quite a bit of him since you told me about it. I watched the Garrett one, and I watched quite a bit of them, and I think they're pretty good, man. I really think that you guys could. It's a lot of hard work. Like, see, right now we could be playing Fortnite or something like that and shooting this shit in Discord, and you're working, so, and putting all this together. So I want everybody to realize that, man. Anything in life is possible, dude, but you just gotta grind it out, man. Oh
yeah. No, I appreciate that. And we'll make sure, as always, we're going to put Staxx contact info down in the description of the video, as well as ours. Make sure you check it out. And I appreciate having you.
My OnlyFans in there. I like that being on the DL.
Yeah. Staxx OnlyFans rips not included.
Yeah.
All right, man. I appreciate it.
With my feet.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming on the show.
Absolutely.
We'll see you guys in the next one.
Peace.